A creature which is indestructible was not very much fun to play with. So every creature was programmed so that it was vulnerable to various things. Viruses and bacteria were invented. They helped add more challenge to the games. Almost every creature was provided with program responses so that it knew what to do in times of danger. This programming was transferable from one generation to another. Most of the toys were equipped so that they could remember friendly and hostile situations. Millions of varieties of creatures were invented. Anything from viruses to cabbage to apes. The creatures were super advanced, highly technical biological animations, the ultimate in wind-up toys and dolls. They appeared to be very much alive and aware, but they weren't. Only a soul is alive and aware. The test of whether you are a soul is this: am I aware of being aware? If so, then you are not an animation. They were so well made that it was difficult to tell that they weren't actually alive. Every creature was such a marvel of technical perfection that the beings no longer had to watch over them. The animations were self-perpetuating, totally automatic, living machines. Then the beings made a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake. The worst mistake in the history of the physical universe. They invented a new twist to the game. They decided to play a game by getting inside these toys. It was a very special game that everyone could play. A special variety of toy was created just for this new game. It was a very special body known today as the human body. It's a very pretty body. It gives wonderful sensations which encourage reproduction. They were happy and excited to play with this new game, but they had to agree to certain rules. Rules which would severely limit their power and awareness. The rules are: you must reduce your size and stay inside the head until the body dies or approaches death. Only one body per player at any one time. No stealing of a body that has already been claimed. You must forget that you are a spiritual being. You must reduce your awareness to a certain level of intelligence and no more. If the body is hurt or attacked by disease, you must agree to feel the pain. Pain was invented to add detail and reality to the game's foolish invention. You must use your muscles and motor controls of the body only. Use of levitation or telepathy is strictly forbidden. You must pretend wholeheartedly that you are that body. You must take the game seriously and stick to the rules no matter what. If one body is killed or dies, you must immediately return to the game by picking up a new body as soon as one is available. The game is survival. See how long you can keep that one body going, no matter what. Start. Here is a simple demonstration to show how a being can convince himself that his powers are limited. First, make a fist. Now pretend that you can't open it. If you pretend real hard and manage to convince yourself you can't open it, well, then so be it. Remember, a being can do anything. He can even inflict various handicaps upon himself so the game of life is more challenging and not so easy to win. A being can even convince himself that he is a human body with many limitations. Perhaps now you can understand the problem with beings in the physical universe, particularly human beings. They have convinced themselves of the wrong things. They have inflicted too many handicaps upon themselves. Their own powers and awareness have been reduced to such a low level that now they are confused, hypnotized slaves. Slaves of their own game, trapped by their own illusions. The only escape is to become unhypnotized and unconvinced. One must wake up. That is the only road to freedom. Talawanda paused and then said, I've told you too much already. Knowledge is like pouring water from a glass into a bottle. If you pour it too fast, then much will spill and go to waste. You have heard things today that are too fantastic to believe. Things which few humans would ever dream of. It's pretty hard to know thyself after you've agreed so hard not to. I was spellbound and begged him to continue. Talawanda, what happened after the game started? He paused and said, Horrible things. Perhaps tomorrow I shall tell you. I pleaded, No, please, tell me now. I've been listening to every word. Well, I already told you more than you realize, but as you wish. The more they used the bodies, the more they became accustomed to operating them from inside. It was exciting and different, handling a body from inside. The sensation of sleep and other feelings of the bodies provided were fascinating to the souls. In the beginning, even pain was merely another interesting sensation. At first, it was difficult to become accustomed to the rules. But with enough practice, they learned how to stay inside the body and feel pain when the body was injured or ill. The rule about limiting one's powers and awareness made the game interesting and challenging. It was difficult at first, but they continued to work at it. They became expert at using the body's muscles. Eventually, levitation was eliminated. Telepathy was still used for a long time. Sounds and symbols had to be developed so that communication could occur by making inscriptions in sand or making sounds with the voice. At the level of communication reduced, the humans broke apart into separate groups. Many souls still desired to get into the game, so they waited for the humans to reproduce and increase the availability of new bodies. As time passed, the game became more and more convincing. It didn't even seem like a game anymore. It became more and more serious. Levitation had become extinct, so tools were designed and constantly improved upon. Eons passed, and the tools became very technical. Languages became highly refined. More eons passed, and space travel was achieved. Beings who could once create stars now began to travel out among them in new toys called spacecraft. With space travel, languages, technology, and civilizations spread throughout the galaxy. As time passed, hatred, jealousy, and anger became commonplace. Beings had totally lost track of who they were. They followed the rules very well. When a body died, there was sorrow and grief. Without a body, a being felt like a lost soul. The body meant everything. When the body died, the being would abandon his prior knowledge and education. He would re-enter the game in a new body, confused and lacking his prior knowledge of who he had been. Today's professor would be tomorrow's shoeshine boy. A variety of religions came into existence, all with good intentions, each one attempting to explain and unravel the mysteries of the universe. Some possessed fragments of truth, but all were unclear and incomplete in their explanations. The truth was well buried. Wars, interplanetary invasions, destruction and pain were all too common. Many of the things which are written about by science fiction writers are actually fragments of cloudy recall, things which have actually occurred, but most of the readers and authors alike prefer to believe it's just imaginary. History repeats itself continually. Planets and civilizations were destroyed by wars. Eons later, language and technologies would be reconstructed. Television, radios, architecture, machines, etc. continue to be reinvented. Most of the inventions on Earth today are not inventions at all. They're just rediscoveries. Inventors get vague flashes from the past and they call them ideas. You've heard the expression, one idea leads to another. Well, truthfully, that should read, one memory triggers another. This is why Earth has undergone such rapid technological advances in machinery, aircraft, electronics. It's all happened before. Well, so much for the history lesson. Let's head on back. Patron, come on, boy. Time to go home. Returning from the picnic, Talawanda walked Patron at a casual pace as I sat on the saddle in front of Talawanda. I was still burning with questions, so I asked him about his kingdom. Talawanda, yes? Your castle and grounds are exquisite, but why do you call this your universe? It's no different from the physical universe. Objects are still solid here. Gravity still holds me to the floor. You and your staff eat food, so why do you call it your universe? Without turning around, I could hear him laughing quietly. My darling, you seem to think that there's something wrong with your wristwatches. There isn't. You will notice that has merely slowed me down. This entire day may take only 15 minutes of physical universe time, or it could take 15,000 years. It doesn't matter, except that you would lose your job if you were gone 15,000 years, but I'm calling in sick. We both laughed. Then Talawanda continued, when I told you that this is another universe, I did not lie. This may resemble the physical world you are familiar with, but that's precisely the point. Things look familiar. The water, the air, the smells, and colors seem real in every detail. Do you agree? Oh, yes. Things are very real. There's no doubt about that, I replied. Talawanda continued, you feel at home, and that's the reason I created all this, so you'd have some things you could relate to. That is why I maintain this body, so that we can touch, share. If I placed you suddenly in a world where gravity did not exist, and objects were no more solid than a beam of light, and I didn't communicate to you through the body, well, I'm afraid we wouldn't have much in common. The best guarantee for love and good communication is to share things in common, things we can both relate to and agree on. I realize you probably like to walk through walls together. Well, that's fine, but let's get to that level gradually. To do otherwise would shock you, and things would seem unreal.